She was humiliated for being infertile, but a widower restored her hope of becoming a mother. Aisha was 26 when she first noticed the change in people's voices around her. No one said anything directly at first. It was in the pauses after greetings, the quick looks exchanged between relatives, the way conversation stopped when she entered the room. She had been married for 2 years then, full of hope, still believing that life moved forward the same way it did in stories, slowly, kindly, and with rewards for patience. She did not know that waiting for her would become a reason for judgment. In the early years of her marriage, everything seemed normal. She lived with her husband, Samir, and his parents in a large house where traditions mattered more than feelings. Samir worked long hours, and Aisha took care of the home. She cooked, cleaned, and tried hard to be the kind of daughter-in-law everyone praised. At night, when the house was quiet, she dreamed of holding a child, of tiny fingers wrapping around hers. She imagined laughter filling the rooms and believed it would happen in time. When months passed without any sign of pregnancy, the first comments came from neighbors. "It takes time," they said, smiling politely. Aisha nodded and smiled back, pretending the words did not settle heavily in her chest. Samir reassured her. He told her not to worry, that they were still young. For a while, that was enough. By the third year, the smiles faded. Family gatherings became uncomfortable. Older women pulled Aisha aside and gave advice she never asked for. Some suggested special foods. Others spoke about doctors. Aisha listened quietly, her hands folded, her face calm, even when her heart felt tight. She did not want to appear ungrateful or rude. She wanted to be patient, just as she had been taught. Doctor visits became part of her routine. White rooms, long waits, gentle questions, and test results she barely understood. The doctors spoke carefully, choosing words that sounded soft but felt sharp. There was no clear answer, only uncertainty. Aisha left each appointment with a heavy mind and the same unanswered question: why her? Samir attended the first few visits with her. He held her hand in the waiting room and told her everything would be fine. But as time passed, he began sending her alone. His work became too busy, or so he said. At home, he grew quieter. The conversations they once shared late at night slowly disappeared. When Aisha tried to talk about her fears, he listened but did not respond the way he used to. The distance between them grew, invisible but real. The real change came when Samir's mother stopped hiding her disappointment. She spoke openly now, her voice sharp with frustration. She reminded Aisha of her duties and questioned her worth. At family meals, she compared Aisha to other women whose children ran around the house. Each comparison felt like a small cut. Aisha lowered her head and stayed silent, believing that if she endured it long enough, things would improve. But silence did not protect her. By the 5th year of marriage, the word infertile was no longer whispered. It was spoken openly, carelessly, as if it were her name. Relatives discussed her future as if she were not sitting in the same room. They spoke about Samir's right to happiness, about the need for an heir. No one asked how Aisha felt. No one wondered what she had lost. Samir changed too. He no longer defended her. When his mother complained, he stayed quiet. When relatives made comments, he looked away. At night, he slept with his back turned to her. Aisha felt as though she was disappearing inside her own life, becoming smaller each day. She tried everything she could think of. She prayed more, hoping faith would bring peace, if not answers. She followed every suggestion given to her, no matter how strange or tiring. She told herself that patience was strength, that endurance would be rewarded. But deep inside, she felt tired in a way she had never felt before. The day the word divorce was mentioned, it did not come as a shock. It came quietly, during a family meeting where Aisha was asked to sit and listen. Samir's mother spoke first, listing reasons as if she were explaining a simple decision. Samir sat beside her, silent. When Aisha looked at him, hoping for even a small sign of resistance, she found none. Samir finally spoke, his voice low and uncertain. He said he did not want to hurt her, but he could not go against his family. He said it was fate, as if that single word could erase years of shared life. Aisha listened without interrupting. Her heart felt numb, as if it had shut itself down to survive. When she returned to her parents' home after the separation, the world felt unfamiliar. Her childhood room seemed smaller than she remembered. Neighbors came to visit, offering sympathy that felt heavy and uncomfortable. Some were kind, others were curious. Everyone had something to say. At home, her parents tried to be supportive, but even their concern carried sadness. Her mother hugged her tightly, whispering that everything would be okay. Her father avoided the topic altogether, focusing on small talk and household matters. Aisha appreciated their efforts, but she still felt alone. Days passed slowly. Without the responsibilities of her married life, Aisha felt empty. She woke up early out of habit, then sat by the window watching people go about their lives. Children walked to school with their mothers. Pregnant women passed by, laughing. Each sight reminded her of what she had lost and what people believed she could never have. The gossip did not stop. Some blamed her. Others said it was written in her destiny. Aisha stopped attending social events. Weddings became painful reminders. Baby celebrations were unbearable. She chose silence and distance, not because she hated others' happiness, but because her own pain was too loud. At night, when everyone slept, Aisha allowed herself to cry. She thought about the life she had imagined and how easily it had been taken away. She questioned her worth, wondering if she truly had nothing to offer beyond what people expected from her body. Those thoughts frightened her, but they felt real. Slowly, she began to realize that the humiliation had not come from one moment, but from years of being measured by a single expectation. She had been a wife, a caretaker, a patient woman, but none of that mattered in the end. She was defined by what she could not give. Yet somewhere beneath the sadness, a quiet strength remained. Aisha did not know it yet, but surviving this pain was already changing her. Though her hope was faint, it was not completely gone. She still believed, in some hidden corner of her heart, that life had more waiting for her than this ending. This was only the beginning of her story, even if it felt like the end. After the separation, Aisha's days began to lose their shape. Time moved, but it did not feel like it was moving for her. She woke up early every morning, just as she had done for years, but there was no house to manage, no expectations waiting for her. She would sit on the edge of her bed for a long time, staring at the floor, trying to understand who she was now. Her mother encouraged her to rest, telling her that she had been through enough. But rest did not bring peace. Silence only made her thoughts louder. Every corner of the house reminded her that she had returned not as a daughter visiting home, but as a woman who had failed in the eyes of society. No one said it directly, yet the feeling was always there. Relatives visited often in the beginning. Some came with genuine concern, their eyes soft with sympathy. Others came out of curiosity, asking careful questions that still felt sharp. They wanted to know what happened, what the doctors said, whether there was still a chance. Aisha answered politely at first, then slowly stopped engaging. She realized that no explanation would ever be enough. Outside, life continued without her. Neighbors greeted her kindly, but their eyes lingered. She felt as if her story had already been written and shared without her permission. Children played in the streets, women discussed household matters, and laughter floated through the air. Aisha watched from a distance, feeling like a stranger in a place she once belonged. One afternoon, her mother gently suggested that she consider working again, not because money was needed, but because staying idle was hurting her more. Aisha resisted at first. She feared facing people, feared questions, feared being seen. But after several restless nights, she agreed. She needed something to hold on to, something that belonged only to her. Through a family friend, she found a position as an assistant at a small private school nearby. The work was simple. She helped teachers, organized books, guided children during activities. On her first day, she felt nervous, her hands shaking slightly as she entered the building. The sound of children's voices filled the air, loud and careless. At first, it hurt. Every laugh reminded her of what she had lost. Every small hand reaching out stirred feelings she tried to bury. She wondered if this job would break her further. But as days passed, something unexpected happened. The children accepted her without judgment. They did not know her past. They did not care about labels. To them, she was simply Miss Aisha. One little boy struggled with reading and often asked for her help. A shy girl held her hand during breaks. These small moments did not erase her pain, but they softened it. For the first time in a long while, Aisha felt useful again. She felt seen, not as a problem, but as a person. Evenings were still difficult. When she returned home, exhaustion replaced her sadness, allowing her to sleep more easily. Her parents noticed the change. Her mother smiled more often, relieved to see light returning to her daughter's eyes. Her father spoke proudly of her job to others, quietly pushing back against the whispers. Still, the past did not leave her alone. Sometimes she saw Samir in her dreams, standing far away, unreachable. Other times she dreamed of a child whose face she could never see. She woke up with tears on her cheeks, unsure of what hurt more, the memories or the hope she could not fully let go of. One day at school, Aisha noticed a man waiting outside the classroom longer than usual. He stood quietly, holding a small bag, watching his child play from a distance. There was sadness in his posture, something familiar that caught her attention. She did not think much of it at the time. Over the following weeks, she saw him often. He always arrived on time, always polite, always distant. When their eyes met, he nodded respectfully. There was no curiosity in his gaze, no judgment, just calm acknowledgement. It felt different, and Aisha did not know why she noticed. At home, Aisha began to rebuild small routines. She helped her mother with cooking, took evening walks, and even started reading again. The books gave her a place to escape, stories where pain eventually led to growth. She did not know if that was true in real life, but she wanted to believe it. There were days when doubt returned strongly. On those days, one careless comment from a neighbor or one unexpected memory could undo all her progress. She questioned whether she deserved happiness at all. But then she would remember the children at school, their trust, their smiles. Those thoughts helped her stand again. Months passed. The gossip around her slowly faded, replaced by newer stories in the neighborhood. People moved on as they always did. Aisha noticed that when she walked outside now, fewer eyes followed her. She breathed a little easier. One afternoon, the school organized a small event for parents. Aisha helped decorate the room, arranging chairs and preparing materials. The familiar man arrived with his child, looking uncomfortable among the crowd. The little girl clung to his hand, her eyes wide. When the child tripped and fell, Aisha reacted without thinking. She rushed forward, gently helping her up, brushing dust from her clothes. The girl looked at her and smiled, tears drying quickly. The man thanked her softly, his voice calm but emotional. For a moment, their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. That evening, Aisha thought about the encounter more than she expected. She wondered about his life, about the sadness she sensed in him. She did not know that this quiet connection was the beginning of something important. For now, she focused on herself. She was not healed, but she was moving. Each day, she took small steps forward, even when fear walked beside her. She no longer felt completely broken. She was learning that her story had not ended with humiliation. Though she still believed that motherhood might never be part of her life, she had begun to understand that her worth was not tied to one role. This realization did not erase her pain, but it gave her something new, a fragile but real sense of self. And without knowing it, Aisha was slowly walking toward a future that would challenge everything she thought she had lost. As weeks turned into months, Aisha's life slowly found a steady rhythm. The school became her second home. She arrived early every morning, helped prepare classrooms, and stayed late when teachers needed assistance. The children trusted her completely. They shared their small worries and joys with her, and in those moments, Aisha felt a warmth she had not felt in years. The quiet man she had noticed earlier became a familiar presence. His name, she learned from the school register, was Imran. He came every afternoon to pick up his daughter, Sarah. Unlike other parents, he never rushed. He waited patiently, watching Sarah from a distance as she finished her activities. There was care in his eyes, but also a deep tiredness that Aisha recognized. It was the same tiredness she saw in her own reflection some mornings. Their conversations began simply. At first, it was just polite greetings, then short exchanges about homework or school events. Imran spoke gently, never asking personal questions. Aisha appreciated that. She had grown used to people wanting explanations for her life, but Imran never crossed that line. One afternoon, the weather changed suddenly. Rain poured heavily just as school ended. Parents crowded under the small shelter near the gate. Aisha noticed Imran struggling to keep Sarah dry with his jacket. Without thinking, she offered her umbrella. Imran hesitated, then accepted with a quiet thank you. The three of them stood together until the rain slowed. In that small moment, something shifted. Sarah smiled up at Aisha and asked if she would come again tomorrow. The innocent question made Aisha's chest tighten, but she smiled and nodded. Imran watched the exchange silently, a thoughtful look on his face. Over time, Sarah began to seek Aisha out more often. She would run to her after class, holding her hand and talking endlessly. Aisha listened, responding with patience and care. She knew she should keep some distance, but it felt natural, almost comforting. With Sarah, she did not feel the ache she usually felt around children. Instead, she felt calm. One day, Imran apologized for Sarah's attachment, worried that it might trouble Aisha. She surprised herself by telling him honestly that it did not. Her voice was steady, but her heart raced. Imran seemed relieved. For the first time, he shared a small piece of his story. He mentioned that Sarah's mother had passed away when Sarah was very young. He did not go into details, and Aisha did not ask. She understood the weight of silence. After that, their conversations grew longer. Sometimes they spoke about school matters, other times about simple things like weather, books, or daily routines. There was comfort in talking to someone who did not expect her to be anything other than herself. At home, Aisha noticed a change within herself. She smiled more. She hummed while cooking. Her mother noticed it too and gently teased her about it. Aisha brushed it off, not ready to admit how much these small interactions meant to her. One evening, Sarah fell ill at school. She had a mild fever and refused to let anyone but Aisha sit beside her. When Imran arrived, worry clear on his face, Aisha explained the situation calmly. She helped him settle Sarah and suggested simple care steps. Imran listened carefully, gratitude evident in his eyes. That evening, Imran called to thank her again. He told her it had been hard raising Sarah alone, learning everything by trial and error. His voice carried exhaustion, but also respect. Aisha listened quietly, feeling a deep understanding between them. As days passed, Aisha began to see Imran not just as a parent, but as a man carrying his own grief. He never spoke badly about life or complained. He simply moved forward, one day at a time, much like she was trying to do. That similarity drew her closer to him, even though she was afraid of what that closeness might mean. There were moments when Aisha pulled back. Fear reminded her of her past. She wondered if allowing herself to care again would only bring pain. She questioned whether someone like Imran could ever truly accept her story. These thoughts troubled her, but she did not let them show. One afternoon, the school organized a small picnic. Parents were invited, and teachers encouraged family participation. Imran hesitated at first but agreed for Sarah's sake. During the picnic, Aisha found herself spending most of the time with them. They shared food, laughter, and simple conversations. For a brief moment, it felt like a normal family gathering, and that thought scared her as much as it comforted her. Later that day, Sarah fell asleep against Aisha's shoulder. Imran noticed and quickly apologized, but Aisha told him it was fine. Imran watched them quietly, his expression unreadable. Something about that moment stayed with him. That night, Aisha lay awake, replaying the day in her mind. She felt happiness, but also guilt. She reminded herself not to imagine things that were not real. Still, she could not deny the sense of belonging she had felt. Soon after, Imran asked if Aisha would consider tutoring Sarah at home. He explained that Sarah struggled to focus and trusted Aisha deeply. Aisha hesitated, aware of how personal this request was. After careful thought, she agreed, setting clear boundaries for herself. The tutoring sessions became part of her weekly routine. Imran always ensured he was respectful and never left them alone without reason. Sometimes he sat nearby, working quietly while Aisha helped Sarah. Other times he prepared tea and listened from a distance. These shared hours created a bond built on trust and mutual respect. Slowly, Imran opened up more. He spoke about the loneliness of coming home to a quiet house, about the pressure of being both parents to Sarah. Aisha listened without judgment, offering understanding instead of advice. When it was her turn, she spoke about rebuilding her life, careful not to revisit old wounds too deeply. Imran listened the same way she did, with patience. Aisha began to realize that for the first time, someone was seeing her beyond her past, not as a woman defined by loss, but as someone capable of giving care and stability. That realization brought tears to her eyes one evening when she was alone. She knew this connection was changing her. It was giving her something she had almost forgotten how to feel: hope. Not loud or unrealistic hope, but a quiet belief that life might still offer her something meaningful. Yet, with hope came fear. She wondered what people would say. She wondered if she was ready. She wondered if she deserved this chance. These questions had no easy answers, but one thing was clear: Aisha was no longer standing still. She was moving forward, step by step, guided by kindness she had not expected and strength she did not know she still had. And as Imran and Sarah slowly became a part of her world, Aisha sensed that her life was preparing for a turning point, one that would test her courage and redefine everything she believed about herself and her future. Change did not arrive suddenly in Aisha's life. It came quietly, like the slow light of morning that fills a room before anyone notices. After months of shared routines, conversations, and small moments, the connection between Aisha and Imran grew deeper, even though neither of them spoke about it directly. Aisha became more involved in Sarah's daily life. She helped with schoolwork, attended small events, and listened to Sarah's endless stories. Sarah trusted her completely, calling her whenever she felt confused or afraid. Aisha never tried to replace anyone. She simply gave what she had: time, patience, and care. Yet deep inside, she felt something she had once believed was forever lost. Imran watched this quietly. He noticed how Sarah smiled more, how she slept better on days Aisha visited, how her laughter returned more easily. For years, Imran had carried the fear that his daughter would grow up with an empty space in her heart. Seeing her comforted eased something heavy inside him. Still, Imran struggled with his own thoughts. He respected Aisha deeply, but he was afraid. Afraid of judgment, afraid of bringing pain into her life again, afraid of his own heart hoping for something it had learned to fear. He had lost once, and that loss had taught him how fragile happiness could be. One evening, after Aisha finished tutoring Sarah, Imran offered to walk her home. The street was quiet, and the sky was soft with fading light. They walked side by side, not too close, not too far. Their conversation was simple but meaningful. Imran spoke about his work, and Aisha shared small moments from school. As they walked, Imran stopped briefly and spoke honestly. He told Aisha how grateful he was for her presence in Sarah's life. He said he had not seen his daughter this peaceful in a long time. Aisha listened quietly, her heart full but steady. She thanked him for trusting her. That night, Aisha thought deeply about her feelings. She realized she was standing at a crossroads. One path led to safety, staying within the boundaries she had built after her separation. The other path held uncertainty but also the possibility of warmth and belonging. The thought scared her, but ignoring it scared her more. People around them began to notice the closeness. Neighbors whispered softly. Some looked curious, others doubtful. Aisha felt the weight of those looks, reminding her of how easily society judged. Old fears resurfaced. She worried that her past would once again be used against her. Her mother noticed her restlessness and gently asked what troubled her. For the first time in a long while, Aisha spoke openly. She shared her confusion, her fear of being hurt again, and her concern about being judged. Her mother listened quietly, then held her hand and told her something simple but powerful. She said that pain had already tested Aisha once and she had survived. Avoiding life would not protect her from pain, but it would protect pain from healing. Those words stayed with Aisha. Imran, too, struggled with the growing bond. He spoke to an older friend, someone who knew his past. The friend reminded him that life did not wait for perfect conditions. He told Imran that choosing courage did not mean forgetting the past, but honoring it by continuing to live fully. After many days of reflection, Imran invited Aisha for tea at his home, asking politely and without pressure. Aisha hesitated but agreed. When she entered the house, she noticed how simple and quiet it was. Photos of Sarah decorated the walls, but there were empty spaces too. The house felt lived in but lonely. They sat together, speaking slowly, honestly. Imran shared more of his story, how he had felt lost after his wife's passing, how raising Sarah alone had been both his strength and his fear. He told Aisha that he admired her kindness, her resilience, and the way she cared without expecting anything in return. Aisha listened, her eyes filled with emotion. When it was her turn, she spoke about the years of blame, the loneliness, and the pain of being defined by something beyond her control. She spoke calmly, but each word carried weight. Imran listened without interrupting, his respect deepening. There was a long silence after that. It was not uncomfortable, it was thoughtful. Finally, Imran spoke. He said he did not see her as broken. He said he did not believe that a person's worth came from one role. He told her that if she ever chose to walk beside him, it would be because she wanted to, not because she owed anyone anything. Aisha felt tears fall quietly. For the first time, someone had spoken to her without expectation, without conditions. That moment did not erase her fear, but it gave her clarity. They did not make promises that day. They did not rush into decisions. Instead, they agreed to move slowly with honesty and care. That choice alone felt powerful. When news of their intention reached others, reactions were mixed. Some questioned Imran's decision. Others spoke behind Aisha's back. She heard the comments, felt their sting, but something inside her had changed. The opinions no longer controlled her. She had learned the cost of living only to please others. Sarah sensed the shift too. She became protective of Aisha, proudly holding her hand in public. Her innocent confidence gave Aisha strength. Children, after all, saw truth more clearly than adults. As weeks passed, Aisha and Imran continued to grow closer. Their bond was built on shared understanding and respect, not rush or illusion. They spoke openly about fears, boundaries, and expectations. Aisha was honest about her past, and Imran was honest about his responsibilities. Nothing was hidden. Eventually, Imran asked Aisha a simple but meaningful question. He asked if she could imagine building a life where care mattered more than labels, where love was shown through actions, not words. Aisha took time before answering. She searched her heart, acknowledging both fear and hope. When she finally said yes, it was not with excitement alone, but with courage. The decision was not easy. There were sleepless nights and moments of doubt, but each day Aisha felt stronger. She realized that choosing happiness was not selfish. It was an act of healing. As plans for their future slowly took shape, Aisha stood firm in her choice. She knew challenges would come. She knew judgment would not disappear. But she also knew she was no longer alone, and that made all the difference. This phase of her life taught her something she had once forgotten. Courage was not the absence of fear. It was the decision to move forward despite it. And with that decision, Aisha stepped into the next chapter of her life, one built not on what she lacked, but on what she could give. Life did not become easy after Aisha said yes, but it became meaningful in ways she had never known before. The days leading up to her marriage with Imran were quiet and simple. There were no grand celebrations, no loud announcements. They chose peace over attention, honesty over display. Aisha wanted this new beginning to feel safe, not heavy. Some people still talked. Some still questioned Imran's choice. Aisha heard the words, but they no longer settled deep inside her. She had learned that pain grew when she gave it too much space. This time, she chose to focus on what stood in front of her, not behind her. After the marriage, Aisha moved into Imran's home. The first night, she stood in the doorway for a long time, unsure. The house felt different now, not complete yet, but waiting. Imran noticed her hesitation and gently told her to take her time. He never rushed her feelings. That patience helped her breathe. Sarah was the one who made the change feel real. She held Aisha's hand tightly and showed her around the house, proudly saying, "This is our home now." The word "our" touched Aisha deeply. She knelt down and hugged Sarah, feeling something settle in her heart. Adjusting to the new role was not instant. Aisha was careful, respectful of boundaries. She did not try to replace memories. She simply showed up every day. She prepared meals, helped with schoolwork, listened to Sarah's fears, and celebrated her small victories. Slowly, trust grew into attachment and attachment into love. Imran watched this bond with gratitude. He did not expect perfection. What mattered to him was the calm that filled the house. Laughter returned. The silence no longer felt heavy. Even difficult days felt lighter when faced together. There were moments when Aisha felt old fears rise again. At school events, she noticed other mothers whispering. Some were kind, others distant. Once, a woman asked her a careless question about having children of her own. The words stung, but Aisha smiled politely and moved on. She had learned that not every question deserved an answer. At home, Imran noticed her quiet moments and gently reminded her that she did not need to prove anything. He told her that being present was already enough. Those words became an anchor for her. Months passed, and life settled into routine. Morning breakfasts, school runs, evening walks. These simple moments slowly healed parts of Aisha she thought were beyond repair. She no longer felt like a guest in her own life. One evening, during a school function, Sarah stood on stage to recite a short piece. Her eyes searched the crowd and stopped at Aisha. She smiled brightly and spoke with confidence. When the applause ended, she ran straight to Aisha and hugged her tightly. In that moment, Aisha understood something deeply. Motherhood was not only about giving birth. It was about showing up, loving without conditions, and staying. That realization brought tears to her eyes, but they were not tears of sadness. Imran saw her standing there, holding Sarah, and felt a quiet sense of completeness. He knew the journey had not been easy for either of them, but it had brought them exactly where they needed to be. Years passed gently. Life continued with its ups and downs, but Aisha faced them with strength she did not know she had. She became more confident, more grounded. The past no longer defined her. It was simply a chapter she had survived. One day, during a routine visit to the doctor for a minor concern, Aisha received unexpected news. At first, she did not understand. She asked for clarification, her voice shaking. When the meaning became clear, she sat silently, unable to speak. Fear, disbelief, and hope rushed through her all at once. She did not tell Imran immediately. She needed time to breathe, to believe. Memories of past humiliation surfaced, and for a moment she was afraid to hope again. But then she remembered how far she had come. She remembered that her life no longer depended on one outcome. That evening, she told Imran quietly. He listened, stunned, then smiled in a way she had never seen before. There were no loud reactions, only tears and gratitude. They both knew that whatever happened, this moment itself was a gift. When the news became known, reactions were mixed. Some were shocked. Some were silent. A few even apologized for past words. Aisha accepted the apologies without holding on to the past. She did not need validation anymore. Through every stage, Imran remained steady. Sarah was excited in her own quiet way, asking thoughtful questions and offering help. Aisha watched her and felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had already been a mother long before this moment. The journey ahead was not free of challenges, but Aisha faced it with calm strength. She had learned patience in pain, courage in judgment, and faith in unexpected places. Looking back, she realized that humiliation had once tried to break her, but it had also shaped her. It had taught her empathy, resilience, and the true meaning of worth. If her past had not been so difficult, she might never have recognized the value of what she had now. On quiet evenings, Aisha sometimes sat by the window, watching the world move by. She thought of the woman she once was, silent, blamed, unsure. She felt compassion for her past self. She had survived more than anyone knew. Now her life was not perfect, but it was honest. It was built on respect, understanding, and love that did not demand proof. Aisha no longer measured herself by what she could or could not give. She knew her worth. She had become a mother through love, through care, through choice. Everything else was simply a blessing added to a life already full. Her story did not end with humiliation. It ended with restoration, and that made all the difference.